Hello and welcome to Whole Latte Love live streams. My name's Zach.
And I'm John.
And today we're going to be going over how to pour a heart. Yeah, this one's actually near and dear to my heart as well. I feel like, hearts are typically that art that you kind of pour first when you're first starting to pour out something. You get really excited as soon as something, resembles a heart, but there's also some things that can go wrong throughout that process. We're here to actually teach you how to correct these common mistakes, different kinds of hearts that you're going to be able to do, some etching art as well, using some thermometers, toothpicks to do some fun other designs, and even this design and maybe something really nice like what John is pouring right now, which is more of like a layered heart, definitely filling up the full cup and looks absolutely fantastic. If you're having any issues with filling up your full cup and maybe adding some layers, this is the stream for you. So a little bit about that. We do have our comments down below. We're always going to be looking at those comments. So if you have any of those, John and I will catch those and be able to answer those as fast as we can. Or Nick.
Or Nick.
Yeah, or Nick.
We
have Brian back there, our producer, who's going to be commenting anything on the screen. So we'll be careful about what he writes in there because I'm just going to say it. So with that, today we're using a couple different things, right, John? What equipment do we have back here?
All right, let's do the equipment rundown. We got a bunch of stuff here. I have the Syncronica 2 espresso machine right here. Awesome steam power on this. E61 group. This just came out earlier this year, end of last year actually. Very sought after item. Awesome steam power. Flow control as well. We're not going to use too much of that today. We're going to be using the Eureka Atom W75 grind by weight grinder. This is actually also a commercial grinder, so we're using a pretty heavy duty grinder today. I'm pretty pumped about it. Got a few tools. We got a nice leveler from Eureka. We've also got the Bravo Mini Push Tamper. We're going to be using the Accu Mini Scales as well. These are great espresso scales. They've got that Spro mode that will spit out the brew ratio, your espresso ratio in real time, which is one of my favorite aspects of this scale. Awesome espresso scale. And then what do you have over here, Zach?
Yeah, so over on this side, we do have the Profitec Drive. So a sibling, related to the Syncronica 2 over there, but a little bit different. Specifically kind of in its aesthetic as well, but we're still kind of utilizing dual boilers. We want these dual boilers because we're looking at pretty high steam temps, right? We want a lot of steam pressure so we can get that silky smooth texture on our milk. Now, if you aren't aware of how to obtain this nice texture, I definitely recommend looking at some of those videos that we actually have on our YouTube page and some of the previous live streams about creating that texture. And there you'll also see that we go over quite a few of these different pictures as well, because that's going to really decide how these hearts end up looking. In order to get something nice and symmetrical like this with nice clean lines in between, if we want to get a nice close-up of this shot.
Nice.
So with this shot here, you can kind of see that there's little tiny ripples between this heart and it builds up into this nice large cup. Well, with this, sometimes you kind of want to do like an in-between fine spout here or a super fine if you really want these in-between lines to be well-defined within your heart, or something nice and thick if you just really want to fill up the whole cup with a nice solid textured heart. Or if you're adding in little dots and you're just, drawing at your heart's desire.
And now, can you do those little dots with something? Oh, hey, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, I also didn't get the memo about, we're wearing pink for hearts and Valentine's Day.
We're all themed out today.
Yeah, next week for Valentine's Day, I promise I'll be in something more festive.
Oh, good, good.
No, do you think you can do those dots to draw through even with a larger spouted pitcher like this?
Why, we can actually try that out. How about that?
Cool. Sounds
Wonderful.
Good to me.
All right, so go ahead and pick which pitcher you'd like me to use. I'll go ahead and start pulling our shot here.
Yeah.
Now, when using a coffee, is there a specific kind of coffee that you like to use with hearts necessarily, or latte art?
Not necessarily. You do want some crema because you're going to want some contrast between the light colored milk and the brown colored coffee. But You can really get latte art to show up many different ways with any kind of coffee. Today, our crema isn't even too wild, and we're still able to get nice pours like this. So we've got a nice Colombia from Whole Latte Love in here. It's a Colombia Tolima single origin. And Zach is getting that ready right now. I'm not too concerned about a ton of crema. In fact, if you have too much crema, that could actually obstruct your latte art. It can be such a thick pile of foam that it can be tough to cut through that foam with more foam, which is pretty much what latte art is. It's just more foam.
Yeah, so specifically talking about that, that's kind of blotching. When people mention something like blotching, you're basically counteracting this other foam and you're working with another foam, and it just becomes difficult to have any clear indication of what you're pouring out. It doesn't mix in well with the crema that's already established within your cup.
Yep. Yeah, I understand that people love getting crema on their espresso, and I don't disagree with them. As far as getting latte art, a little bit is fine. Yeah, don't worry about it too much with that. Which pitcher did you go with?
All right, so I'm going with a pretty wide mouth curved spout here and a smaller pitcher as well. I want to be able to build up this texture pretty quickly, so if you don't have too much pressure within your machine, maybe you're a single boiler or something like that, and it has a decline of pressure over time, I suggest these smaller pitchers. It's going to really help with your overall ability to make really nice texture and be able to achieve this nice heart over here.
I also like this with smaller cups as well. If you need to use a smaller amount of milk, it can be a little bit difficult to get a nice whirlpool going with a small amount of milk in a larger pitcher. So I see what you're doing here, Zach. You can get a really nice whirlpool with that kind of a smaller. That's a 12-ounce pitcher, right?
Yep, nice 12-ounce pitcher. So using that smaller pitcher will also create more of a whirlpool within my pitcher as well. So that's really going to infuse a lot of the air that we're introducing within the milk. Again, if you have any more questions about that milk infusing and overall steaming ability, we do have some great live streams about building up that texture.
Oh yeah. And you've done a lot of those live streams, right, Zach? You trained people on latte art in commercial environments and at SCA events and all kinds of things like that, right?
Yep. So I've done that SCA events. I've done it kind of around the U.S., really training on different kinds of latte art. Been, taking my part in some competitions, including this past weekend as well.
Oh yeah, that's right.
In fact, I was judging one, so a little bit different, but if we need to say I know what I'm doing, it's a sign.
I'm trying to give you some cred here,
Yeah.
Yeah, Zach, we had a local, we're here in Rochester, New York, we had a local latte art throwdown. It's like a tournament style latte art competition with a bunch of local baristas, and Zach was actually one of the judges, so it looks like that was a lot of fun. Now, Brian, thanks for that camera angle. We got a nice whirlpool in that pitcher that Zach has, and that's really necessary to whip up those bigger bubbles into much smaller bubbles. That's how you get that micro foam. So latte art's going to be very difficult if you have big bubbles. You really want those tiny, almost microscopic micro foam bubbles that kind of make your pitcher of milk look like wet paint. It should have like kind of a thicker consistency on top. And then another important thing Zach is doing right now is he's swirling the pitcher. This is what happens. I'm not going to hold you up too long, but this is what happens. The air is going to rise to the top of the pitcher. I mean, foam is filled with air. It's going to rise to the top. So that can separate the milk texture. We want it to all be kind of one, which is why he's swirling it. We want that liquidy milk on the bottom and the foamy stuff on top to kind of become one. There we go. Now he's going to pour right kind of along this. Oh, you're faking me out, man. I thought you were going to do a big one.
Well, I want to show...
He's showing off.
I want to show a little bit about how we would etch. So as you can see, I could just drop down a couple little hearts. As soon as you figure out that movement of being able to kind of pour, watch the white as it comes out, and lift up your pitcher and strike through. That's how you do quick little hearts. But let's say you mess up on one, like this first one. Well, that's where a thermometer comes in hand, or your little toothpick or anything like that. And what I'll do here is just start from the top of this and strike through. And you can basically make as many as you want from this as well. So if I want to like finish up my my milk here, pour out some, and I just want some of that foam at the top here. I can even take some of this foam right here and just start making some little white dots as well.
Cool.
And there's not too much foam there, but you would then take that old foam and, you know, make more hearts.
Wow.
Again, at your heart desire.
Cool. I might want to try that later too.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So that is what we call kind of a thermometer art. So if you find yourself only being able to get these kind of little blobs out, I would recommend start making those little connections. You can even line these up and make more dots around and make circles and connect all of them, or you can start pouring out the ends of your latte into little dots around and just start connecting them all from there.
That was how I started with latte art. This trick is called etching. It's where you take a fine point, like a thermometer or a toothpick. We've got some toothpicks over here. And you're just taking blobs that you've created and just kind of pushing them in different directions. You can even create spider webs, things like this. I think it's super easy to get a nice heart with that kind of a technique.
So one distinction that I'd like to make with hearts as well is that there's a big difference between rosettas, where you're kind of starting at a slant and then slowly stacking up things, which we can get into stacks and what happens when you can start stacking in more hearts and really inlaying a whole bunch of hearts into one art. But there's a difference between that and just these regular hearts. These are what I like to consider a placement heart. Where you are drawing is where it's gonna be. So that's what I also like about hearts, is that you can actually go from maybe a standstill. You can even have it on your counter as you're pouring these little hearts, because this is based off of a wrist movement. So when you're pouring these hearts, you can actually take your cup, and as you create your base of milk, you then can actually lay your cup flat. Instead of keeping this tilt as you pour with other arts, you can actually lay your cup flat, and then where you are pouring, you are drawing. And this all has to do with the spout proximity. So not to go too crazy, but where in line this spout is to your espresso matters of like how you're gonna draw. If you noticed at first when I was creating that base, I was just diving in past all the crema. Nothing was layering up on top because I was pouring from a high end, right? So it's gonna pour through the crema. But the closer I go, the more it starts stacking up. And that's what we're specifically trying to go for. Now the speed of which, you know, I usually look at the width of the milk coming out to be about like a pencil is what you're going for in order to start drawing some hearts. More than that, it gets a little difficult, and slower than that, hearts are very possible, but other art is not.
Interesting. I'm going to be interested in the width that you were talking about the width of a pencil.
Yeah, definitely. So we can definitely pay attention to that on this next one. Hey, James, how you doing? We also see some other messages there about some maple leaves and fun stuff. Maybe I'll try a maple leaf later.
Oh yeah.
We'll see what we can do. I mean, that's one of the great things about the heart, is it's the base of so many different latte arts, or it's the top of so many different kinds of art that we end up doing. So did you start with a heart when you first started pouring?
No, and that's why I've been excited about this live stream. You're a little more experienced. I can do some latte art. Zach is a little bit more experienced than me. I skipped past that and went right to the Rosetta, so I kind of missed the beginning of, you know, the heart is what a lot of baristas start with.
Yeah.
And that's the base. And a lot of times in coffee shops or commercial environments, they don't let you really progress onto the next level until you can at least do a heart. And I just kind of skipped right past that. So there's a few basics that I miss here and there. And so, Zach, I've actually been looking forward to doing this with you so that I can maybe pick up a thing or two as well.
Yeah, I would say don't fret, because what you did is basically like missing preschool. It's not missing kindergarten, but you know, you missed something there.
I missed something, yeah. So I've been looking forward to this. And hey, real quick, just want to say hi, Bruce. Welcome.
All right, so now I want to go into some common issues. So I'm actually going to bust out some of our markers here to start writing on our table here. permanent markers. These are going to be here for forever.
Oh, great.
Every live stream hereafter, we're going to talk about these horrible hearts. So what typically happens when we start getting into hearts is that we start getting these weird elongated shapes. So we're starting to pour, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I don't know how this happened, right? How this happens is basically where you started your pour. Again, this is a placement art. You want to be hovering in around the same place as where you start. So if I was starting right here, that means I was trying to formulate this whole entire pour this whole entire time. So I was like following this, trying to create the heart, and I was a little too close on this cut through. Now, if I stayed in one spot, let's say I'm staying in one spot and I'm just watching this kind of build out and kind of implode on itself in a way, and then I cut up, well then we're starting to build the majority of everything right here, right? And then the pull up is what will then make this tail. And it forms a big heart.
And when you say pull up, you mean away, higher away from the cup, right?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So some people will do this as like a scoop, or if you want a pretty hard cut through, you can actually lift up and then over. You can kind of think of it as like a robotic movement. You want it to be smooth, but somewhat robotic.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I've heard it called helicoptering.
Helicoptering.
Yeah.
You should describe that.
Yeah, where you're just a little bit too close to the cup when you're trying to pull up. And so instead you just kind of shove the entire design towards one end of the cup. So that you don't want. You want to kind of up and away, just like that.
All
so
right.
What's coming up next?
So next we're going to kind of show some of the layering effects that we can do from something like a fine point.
Cool.
And what those gestures really kind of do. So as soon as we graduate to something like a finer point of things, we can then start introducing a little bit of a wiggle. So as we said before, we are staying in place, right? We're wanting to pour into the center of the cup. It's a placement art. Where you see it is where it goes. So we're going to stay hovering in the center, and instead of just pouring at your nice pencil rate right here, we're going to introduce just a little bit of a wiggle, just a little tiny thing. It's not going to have to go side to side, because remember, this is then building up. It's like throwing a rock inside a pond. It's going to ripple on itself, and it's going to build on itself, and that's what we're anticipating on this pour.
Cool.
So we're going to anticipate that, but not draw the whole thing out. We don't need these big old movements. Little tiny movement turns into a lot.
Cool. I'm going to be interested in how that actually fills up the entire cup just by giving some ripple effects. Now, what does that end up looking like? Is that more of a layer looking heart, or
it's like a blooming onion, like you like to say, or something like that? Yeah. So there is going to be some nice little layers. You can always pause on the first side if you want a good break between all of these layers within your heart. You can always introduce some pauses. Those will actually define bigger layers within this as well. But little ripples will just define little tiny lines.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be excited to see what the master does here.
Oh, I'm gonna mess up naturally. We're live. Duh.
Oh, that's how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So as you can see, when we're doing any of this art, we're starting with a coffee that we can build a crema, right? Just a nice little dark contrast background. If you need assistance with this, you can always use chocolate as well. And then the best kind of milk for this would be whole milk or something that has a lot of surfactants, which is a whole other discussion.
Now, we do have a quick question about milk. Question for John or Zach: does the milk have to go into the fridge before it goes bad? Yeah, always. For what we're doing right here, the milk is going to be okay. We're just going to have it out for a little while, but and we're probably going to go through a lot of it as well. But I have another pro tip for you. I'm glad you brought this up. A lot of people like to keep their pitcher in the fridge because that cools down the pitcher. Then when they put cold milk in there, the cold pitcher will kind of help keep that milk colder longer. So when you're steaming, you get even more time before it gets too hot for the milk to swirl around and whip those big bubbles into little tiny microfoam bubbles. So you know, if you've got a really hot pitcher, then you're going to be done with your steaming a little bit quicker, and you might not have enough time to whip up all those bubbles into that nice velvety microfoam. So good question.
Yeah, so being able to build up this microfoam, starting at that cool temp, yeah, it gives you enough time. And also building up this microfoam can only happen at a certain temperature as well. If you don't have enough time, by the time it hits 140 degrees, it can actually not bond with those fat globules, if we're getting technical, with all the proteins and surfactants, and it won't build microfoam. To get extremely technical, but you know, we'll do a video eventually about that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I think people are interested. Globules.
Globules,
Yeah.
fat globules. That's what everything is kind of bonding to. And then your surfactants are basically like a glue that kind of holds it all together. Those can be different oils or fats within your actual milk, which is why you see barista editions where there's added surfactants in order to create microfoam. All right, so you can see I worked up my phone. I'm still starting in a teetered position here. High pour to create that base, and I'm going to quickly come down here. Little tiny movements, right? And you can see I'm all the way up here just filling out that heart. And if you finished that early as well, if you noticed, I just went all the way up to the top, and let's say you get to the other side too early, well, just hover over that spot for a little bit longer, and you can be able to like really finish off that tip of the heart there.
Gotcha.
So if you find yourself, it's like, oh man, my heart's built how I like it, what do I do?
But the cup's not all the way at the top yet,
The cup's
right?
not all the way to the top yet. I'm going to be counted against my latte art points. Technically, within competitions, you have to have it all the way to the top.
I didn't know that.
So yeah,
Okay.
It's a big point there. So if you want it filled all the way to the top, just move to the other end, work on that point, and then high pour, because none of that is going to end up on your beautiful art of the heart that you want.
Wow. Okay, yeah.
The art of the heart. And again, you can kind of pour out some stuff if you want to finish off some things with like a little bit of a drawing art. Then we'll see if we can layer any foam here.
Yeah, you got a little foam left in there. Now, to do this, is it a little bit easier to have like way less milk in the jug to get those dots to start showing up?
Yeah, so as you get to know a specific cup that you like or a specific pitcher, I would recommend trying to fill that up to the same level every time. Now, there is something called milk sharing or pitcher sharing, where you can steam in one because maybe you like the smaller size of that pitcher, and then you go to your larger pitcher because you can actually start drawing sooner, right? So let's finish up this art really fast before it dies. And I'm just gonna swipe this all the way across, and I just have a little bit of a layered heart off to the side.
Four
Something
extra
fun.
hearts, yeah.
4 extra hearts just for fun. So if you like a specific small pitcher, but you're finding that you want to build a bigger heart, and you can't quite get that close with your spout right away because you have a big jug of milk here, and it's this full. How am I supposed to get close? How am I supposed to start drawing? Well, you can actually pour that into a larger pitcher, and look at that. I can actually tilt in here a lot faster and start building that art right away. You can get a nice big heart that just lasts the whole entire top of that glass.
Cool.
So if you're finding yourself having those really small hearts, maybe also look at the size of your pitcher or how much milk you're using. If you're using too much milk, it makes it really difficult.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Pro tip, the actual art is usually what comes out last. That does not come out first. So if you're using too much milk, you might get to the top of your cup before you start seeing any art come out. So the amount of milk that you're using is very, very important.
Definitely. So as you start practicing these techniques and you start getting out some nice, clean designs, then you can also kind of graduate into some very complicated ones as well.
Is this going where I think it's going?
It might. I don't know.
Yeah?
Yeah. So
Want me to pull you a shot, see where we go?
yeah, let's see where we go.
All right.
So what we can actually start attempting on top of these hearts are either layered hearts, where we mention that there's a little bit of a break. There's a pause within your pour, and that's going to offer that first base, and then you're going to layer in your next heart. So this is our first of technical pours. Now, once we have that, we can also do things like a custom arrow, like a Cupid's arrow that kind of crosses through that beautiful heart that you just did with maybe a little rosetta and a heart to strike it off. So this is going to be a little bit more of a difficult attempt. I'll definitely mess up, but we're going to see what we can do. So I'm going to do a break within that heart so we can section off those particular bounds. And then I'm going to do a rosetta on one side and then a heart to finish it off. So as I'm pouring this, let's go ahead and, oh wait, I already need to pour. You're pulling the shot. Never mind. Lies, all of it.
I'll get it ready for you. Don't worry.
All right.
Don't mind me.
Let's go ahead and start pouring into this cup. I'm going to steam out of this one, and maybe I'll utilize a pitcher sharing since we just spoke about that.
Yeah, I would love that. I have not played with the pouring it into a bigger pitcher method quite yet, so I'd be really interested in how you go about that and what that does as well.
So I'll go ahead and start steaming at this point. The espresso's ready. You want this to be as ready as soon as possible, so I should stop talking naturally.
Well, you know, I'm looking at the crema on here. We do have some nice crema. It's not crazy thick. I have another pro tip for you, though. If you let your crema or your shot sit too long, you're going to see your crema form islands of crema. And those islands can become sort of impenetrable. So you'll often see baristas at, you know, coffee shops or out in the world or on YouTube or whatever doing this a lot, not just with the, I mean, you know this, you gotta swirl your milk, you gotta swirl your espresso too. That keeps kind of an even canvas of crema instead of like islands of crema forming and hardening. So here you go, Zach.
Thank you, thank you. So
Yes,
as you
sir.
can see, I'm just gently pouring how much milk I think I'm gonna need into my pitcher here. And we're gonna do kind of a break of a pour here. So again, high pour, just to come up with that base. First little base.
Wow.
And I'm gonna start pouring into this. That's a nice little heart. And again, it's not as full as I want there, so I'm gonna go like this.
There you go.
And then I need my next part. So I'm gonna strike it off, heart, and art. So,
Dude,
if we mess up like this and it doesn't
okay.
quite look like an arrow, what we can do is just, you know, spruce it up a little bit.
nice.
Nothing wrong with a little spruce. Boop.
I have never done that one.
And then boop.
What do you call this?
I call it a Cupid's arrow. It's just kind of crossing it out, you know.
Just sending a little arrow right through the
sending
heart.
a little arrow right through the heart. That's usually how holidays feel, you know.
Mind if I try?
That's personal.
Cool.
All right, so you should definitely try this.
Yeah?
So you can see that I built that nice big break in that first layer there, and then it kind of built up and around it. So as we saw in this one, I was in one spot for most of this, right?
Yeah.
And I was just letting it kind of layer out for me. And then I had so much time and also lost a good amount of room because I didn't leave enough to the side to start doing a little rosetta off to the side here. And then just spruced it off with like a little arrow there.
You did such a great job filling up the entire cup. That
Unfortunately.
Which, I mean, in latte art competitions, you will get points for using the entire cup. So regardless, still looking good.
Definitely. So let's go ahead and go through some comments here. Hi all. Let's see, Andres. Hi all. If my focus is milk-based drinks, which single boiler is better? The Gaja Classic E24 or the Becerra Hobby? All right, so this is a tough one. They're both single boilers. They're both going to do the job just fine. I think on previous live streams and some previous videos, you've actually seen me be able to do some seahorses based on an E24. So I can do some pretty insane art just based off of any single boiler. Now, the Becerra Hobby also has a brass boiler. It's a little bit larger. It has about a 3 liter, no, 2.4 liter. 2.4 liter.
So.
Yeah, 2.4 liter boiler. It's still a single boiler as comparison to a little bit more than a liter on, or nope, that's not it. 0.24, almost 0.3. Wow, now I'm forgetting all my facts. Nick will probably be able to comment that down there. He'll also be so disappointed in me that I'm forgetting those decimals.
Yeah, Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because I was actually just pouring hearts in one of those E24 boilers, and for some reason I don't remember how much that milk was.
How could you?
Yeah, where I should really be measuring my milk. A lot of coffee professionals out there, when they're starting to get into these crazier pours, will actually measure and weigh out how much milk they want in order to do so.
I've had success with that myself, actually.
Yep. Oh, 0.25 liter.
Ah,
okay.
Nick,
yeah.
Thank you.
I said 0.24, no clue why. And, oh yeah, I said that for the Gaja, though, which I believe is more towards a 0.1. Or point, I don't know.
Well, I'll give you some points for it anyway.
Yep, yeah. Perfect. So, what are you attempting again for us? You're going to do some layers for us, and you're going to attempt this Cupid.
Yeah,
okay.
But you know, it's going to be one of those things where, depending on how things are going, it might be a game time decision.
Now, if you're trying this at home along with us, and you're finding any issues that you might have, please put those within the comments, because there are some common issues that kind of differ from person to person. Where it stems from can be all the way down to the process of milk, to the actual crema that you're getting, what kind of milk that you're getting, and whether or not you're actually pouring correctly as well. So in order to keep all those things pretty similar, I like to keep things kind of close to your body, good view, and making sure that you create a pretty good base. Again, the faster base that you create and the more closely you can get the spout, the bigger that heart's going to be.
Real quick, I want to go through a quick common issue whenever I train people on latte art. And Brian, I don't know if you're able to get a nice kind of cross view of this espresso right here. Yeah. So you always want to pour, this is one of the reasons that we actually tilt the cup. You want to pour into the deepest part of the espresso. So if your cup is like this, it's not that deep. When you do this, all of a sudden you've got a lot of depth right there. That's one of the reasons that you see baristas tilting a lot. You want to pour not over on the side where it's really shallow, not on the front or anywhere else where it's really shallow. You want to pour into the deepest part. That's going to go a long way as far as stretching your crema, stretching your base. We kind of call it stretching the canvas.
Do you want me to prep this? You want to use a different pitcher, don't you?
Oh, sure, yeah.
So one thing about pouring latte art, too, is that you want to be pouring this milk as fast as possible.
Yeah, so
John,
I broke that rule.
I'm looking at you.
I see it.
If not, then you can actually milk share or pitcher share, and this actually creates a really nice texture for you to continue that pour.
Cool.
So let's go ahead and try that.
All right, let's see what we got.
Helping John out here.
Yeah, I mean, this is as much for me as it is for anybody else. Here we go. Now, I'm trying to pour into the deepest part. Now I can start pouring my actual design. 2, 3.
Nice layered heart. See those huge breaks that he got on that. Now he needs to come off to the side and do a little more of a, turn the cup. Perfect. So as you can see, you could go nice and slow. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
no, I think
close.
you're going to be able to finish that off. Look how great the end of your bow looks.
All right.
So typically I like to do a little Rosetta, but an easier version of this.
I think I was
John.
I think I was running
Doing
out
the
of
easy way.
I was running out of milk, so I had to just kind of get it done.
Yeah, exactly. So we can just kind of top this off with a little dot again, because we're going to go ahead and cheat. I wouldn't consider this cheating. I just like it. Like to finish it off with a nice little arrow there.
Cool.
So I kind of like this design too, where it has that initial heart instead of a Rosetta that kind of looks like the feather.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, and I mean, it's Valentine's Day. Let's keep them all hearts, right?
Yeah, hearts everywhere. Hearts on everything.
Cool.
And Gaja boilers, whatever you want. Wherever you want.
Awesome. Well, hey, what other designs or pitfalls, things like that, should we go through today?
All right, so I think we're going to go through a couple more stencil sort of heart designs, but we do have a couple questions as well. So from Medium Obligation, what's a fast heating rotary pump espresso machine?
Good question.
So what is this,
Oh, hey,
John?
Nick's got us right here, too.
Nick's already got that as well.
Yeah. And by the way, the Synchronica 2 is currently the fastest heating E61 espresso machine. Heats up in 6.5 minutes, which is absolutely wild.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a good question. Glad you asked.
And that's due to a thermoblock actually within that group head as well. That kind of assists with that quick heat up time.
Yeah.
With brewing specifically.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Nick.
So you'll find a lot better bet heating up milk or steaming milk with a heat exchanger and a dual boiler. Those two are going to give you the easiest results. And when I say easiest, that just means that you can actually pull your shot at the same time as steaming your milk. That's going to give you the best result when it comes to latte art specifically. Not saying it's not possible with a single boiler, because like we've done previously on the E24, I could still steam that milk well enough right after that shot is being pulled.
Sure.
Which I usually do shot and then steamer milk for the best ability. And honestly, I think that John really beat me out on my own art here.
I got to watch you first.
I mean, if we want to vote on this, you can leave it in the comment. But I think John kind of destroyed me on that one too. So
I don't know,
if I would be the judge.
We're just getting go. I had a good teacher. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, definitely. So let's say we don't want to do any of this free pour. Kind of like this first one, there's a couple different kinds of designs that we can then do using maybe a spoon to scoop out or the free pour towards the end.
Cool.
So we're going to go ahead and attempt a circle of hearts now.
Sweet.
Which is really fun. You can kind of see it in previous arts that we've done over here. Hearts. Doesn't matter if I mess up on the word. You've seen it in previous art that we've done that we can actually add a whole bunch of dots and connect those all together. Well, what if we did this a little bit more purposely?
Sounds fun to me.
Ooh, dream sequence. All right, so.
Show me what you got.
We'll see.
All right.
So again, kind of starting off with a clean portafilter, nice espresso every single time.
Every time.
If you're just joining us, we're using a Tolima, a Columbia Tolima today.
Yeah, and it's given us excellent espresso and crema as well. Not too much crema, so that we don't have these giant bubbles that we're not going to be able to break through. It's aged just right. Sometimes the crema can also have a bit to do with the age of your coffee. So if it was really fresh, like just roasted, it's still full of a lot of CO2. And that CO2 is going to wrap around lipids, literally fats, that you find in the coffee, and that's what creates the crema. So the less CO2 you have, or the older your coffee is, the less crema you're going to have in general. So now a scale recommendation. Nick, he's on it and asking the right questions. Do you do any pour over? I got a couple ideas there. I'm going to see what Nick says. I love the AccuPro scale myself. We are using, for that especially, because you can fit a big vessel on it. Today we're using the AccuMini scale. And again, this is a... Brian's laughing at me dropping things here. This will show you your espresso ratio readout in real time. So we typically do like a 1-to-2 ratio in, 20 grams in, which would mean 40 grams out of actual brewed espresso. This will show you your ratio in real time as the espresso is brewing. So Zach is steaming right now, and I'm going to be excited to see what kind of, do you call it stenciling or etching?
Etching, stenciling, thermometer art, toothpick art, whatever you want to call it. I think the option's still out there for you.
Cool.
But a lot of people do call it etching. So.
Awesome.
All right. So I have some nice thick foam here. In fact, so thick, I'm going to go ahead and pour some out here. But we do kind of want some thick foam at this point, right? We're just creating a nice base and then adding some dots to it. And with this, you can use a spoon towards the end if you need to.
To just kind of scoop out some foam and put it on top. Now notice he did not really need to tilt the pitcher that much with this kind of design. Because all we're really doing is literally kind of, tell me if I'm wrong here, you're sort of drawing the way that you would with a pen. You just kind of put the tip of the pitcher where you want the design to show up.
Exactly.
You just treat it like ink.
Nice and close. And, most people can do something like this, right? It doesn't look like anything quite yet, but as soon as we do our thermometer or toothpick, in this case, let's do a toothpick for this one.
There you go.
We can go ahead and on this top one, let's go ahead and do a heart down because I feel like that's what it's calling for. And I want to do a circle of hearts around it. And it's as simple as that.
Super easy.
Yeah,
So
and it
this
looks beautiful.
This doesn't require any kind of like pouring at a certain speed and tilting the cup and lifting the cup while you're pouring at a certain speed and speeding up as you do it and all these coordinated efforts. For this, all you do is just basically just draw as if the milk was just ink, right?
Exactly. So if you're attempting those hearts and they are coming out as blotches, it doesn't matter. There's still hope in a thermometer or a toothpick.
I've saved a lot of my latte art.
Thermometer. All right.
I've saved a lot of my latte art by just etching afterward.
Yeah, because we both come from the commercial environment too. You want that kind of presentation. So it's not just for significant others, but also some customers as well. If you're really trying to spruce up the top of that latte, quick little thermometer to kind of connect an art, finish something out.
Presentation is everything in that world,
Definitely. So, and when it comes to presenting this too, well, what if your significant other or yourself or your customer wants something like a cappuccino? Is it still possible to do a heart?
I'm gonna go with yes.
Okay.
In fact, I think we have a couple of tools to help us with that.
I think we do.
Yeah.
It's like I led into this somehow. Like I knew what was going to happen next. Like
how
it's
did you
somewhere on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grab cappuccino tools. There
Yeah,
it is.
that's right there. Oh, did we greet viewers? Yeah.
I think we forgot to greet everybody.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, what's up? All right.
Now, I'll tell you what, we've got these BIT, which stands for Barista Improving Taste tools. This is the actual tiny cappuccino pitcher. This is going to help you get the kind of foam that you need. A lot of foam for the old school cappuccino that this is going to let you make. And we also have this traditional cappuccino cup, also from Barista Improving Taste. I don't know if you can see it from there. Thanks, Zach.
Nope.
We're trying.
I am paper white.
Well, there's some, here we go, there's some.
There's a good dark background.
Yeah, it's barely working, but it's okay.
Yeah.
You can sort of see some little etched spots on here. We got single shot, double shot, a little line that says TC, that means traditional cappuccino. This shows you exactly where everything needs to go.
Yeah. In fact, let me go ahead and we'll get this close-up of this really fast so we can kind of describe this process of cappuccinos.
Oh, there you go.
So if we want to get this close-up on the table, we can kind of see these layers a little bit more. So what defines more of a traditional cappuccino, how we would actually have foam to this amount, is by using this single shot line. So when we pour a single shot, that's more of our traditional cappuccino line, where a double shot would be more of a contemporary cappuccino, which you will find in many coffee shops because some people say it's a little bit easier with latte art, but we're here to say that traditional cappuccinos is totally possible with hearts, especially these kinds of hearts, but with any heart in general. So kind of going back to previous live streams that we've done, these torpedo sort of styles or the big belly sort of style of these really traps in a lot of that whirlpool and pressure within that area down below, and it infuses a lot of that air and starts combining everything a lot better and faster and creates a really fast whirlpool so you can really build up some nice foam really quickly. So that's specifically designed for a cappuccino, so you have a really nice texture so we can still pour out some great latte art on a traditional cappuccino. So
that makes sense.
You actually already changed over here, right?
You bet. Yeah, I've got I have a single shot basket right here. We've got the Renato 90 Plus. Love using this basket for single shots. In fact, I've got the grinder programmed for, I'm going to do 11 grams of coffee in here. I'm just going to run a little more hot water through there and make sure we're all nice and warm. And then we're going to be good to go. And then, Zach, you get to show us how you would make a traditional cappuccino.
Gotcha. Yeah, and while doing so, it looks like we have some questions on how to create this vortex as well. Just a little recap too. This does kind of depend on the pitcher you're using and also the steam tip that you have on your machine. So when it comes to the steam tip on your machine specifically, it depends on how close to the center your wand's gonna be. If you actually look back at one of our previous live streams where we went into milk frothing and milk frothability, the amount of holes that you have within your steam wand is actually guiding how tilted you want your pitcher to be. So the more holes you have, let's say a 4-hole vortex sort of style, you can actually be more towards the center of your pitcher because that's already creating more of a whirlpool. Now, the less holes that you have on that steam wand, the more you're gonna have to tilt and create that vortex so that initial pressure can really start creating that vortex for you instead of the 4-hole creating it itself, basically.
Now that's interesting. I'm glad the way that you explained what those pitchers really do. You can really build up a lot more foam than you typically would for like a latte or something with those tornado pitchers.
Entirely. And here I'm hardly going to have any milk within my pitcher too. I don't have to use too much milk within my pitcher on this one.
Not bad.
All right.
All right, I've got some espresso ready for you. I'll keep it alive. Again, keep in mind you gotta keep the espresso moving the way that you would keep the milk moving too. So that we don't have big old islands of crema.
So we have to find the sweet spot right away. So it starts chirping at you right away, and you want to hover that surface as much as possible up until about it's too hot to touch. Focus on that whirlpool, and you're done. So as you can see, it built up quite a lot of foam. If we started all the way down here, we built up about double its volume within that process. A very quick process, especially within these dual boilers. And we can kind of work it from there. And let's see what kind of heart that we can do from here.
Nice. All right, so we've got a lot of foam in there.
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
And we'll see how this ends up inside my cup.
I have gotten this question before. Is it possible to have a lot of foam for a traditional cappuccino and still do art? Check it out. The answer is yes.
So it might be a little hard to see. Might in a second here. If we get a front end shot, our wonderful producer Brian.
Hi, Brian.
You can see that this perfectly aligns up with a traditional cappuccino line. You can see that foam right there on that traditional cappuccino line. I can still do a nice heart and latte art and whatever we really want on the top there and still produce a traditional cappuccino.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Mystery solved. I have gotten that question many times before. So.
And in fact, we can actually do a lot of different kinds of art within a traditional cappuccino, specifically that cup. I've done swans and the whole thing. So,
wow.
That's one great thing about hearts now is that you can start connecting it with more and more art, maybe around it, with it. You can top rosettas with it, lots of different things. And all it comes down to is this specific technique. So of placing and lifting up. So we got some laughs from the producers back there, so I'm going to have to drop into these comments right now. Oh yeah, we got a comment from Ben. Hey guys, those look really tasty. Can I come get one? So Ben is actually one of our writers. You might actually see him on our current blogs. We've been investing a lot of time into our new blogs and a lot of effort in studying a lot of our new grinders that are actually posted right now. Links on our Instagram and within our Whole Latte Love page. So highly suggest looking at those.
Hey Ben, want to come get some?
Yeah, you can totally get some.
Yeah, come on out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got drinks for Ben right here.
Yep, definitely. And Brian and probably the rest of
Brian, if you want one.
rest of the video studio here.
He says no, he's good. All right. Come on over, man.
You can take your pick. This is going to be the judgment of what is actually good or not.
Can we get one of those overhead shots and see which one Ben picks?
Yeah, and also some dramatic music, please.
Well, I think this is the freshest one. So
Yeah, it is.
That's probably the wisest idea. That's the freshest one.
Okay,
Nice.
perfect, wonderful.
That's fantastic. Thank you so
Good.
much.
Hey, thank you, Ben.
You're welcome.
Remember that face. He's writing a bunch of our blogs on all kinds of cool equipment that we carry here.
Yep. So we
Nice.
won't charge them that $8. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's on us, Ben.
All right, Megan, thank you. Yep. We try. We've been doing this for a very long time, though. We've been in the game of doing latte art and in coffee for well over a decade.
each.
each.
And you know, but even still, I mean, I've got blind spots in my latte art, so I was really happy to be able to do this with you today, Zach. And
You're so welcome.
yeah, oh hey, yeah, yeah, not for nothing. So yeah, you know, and even then, no matter how long you've been doing this, practice. I remember I couldn't get my first halfway decent pour or anything that looked like anything until like my 3rd year in.
Hey, PR from, greetings from Switzerland.
Hey,
Hi in Switzerland.
thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, it took me 3 years, and every now and then I train someone and they get it in like 3 months, and I'm like, you jerk, you know? So, so yeah, it takes a while. Practice makes perfect. That's all there is to it. But
yeah, definitely. Because I was actually awful at latte art when I first started. Took me about 3 months to even come up with something that even represented like some sort of a white dot on the top of my latte. It did take me a long time, but from that, I actually gained focus of like, I'm gonna do this thing. And what it took was me about 50 gallons of milk and a lot of time. And after that, you know, I started, you know, getting some hearts down, getting some rosettas down, being able to start stacking, because as soon as you get hearts, well, what if you pull up and then you start placing more?
yeah.
Well, then that becomes a beautiful tulip stack. So it all derives from this heart. And I feel like hearts are near and dear to our hearts because it's kind of the beginning of the coffee experience for many of us. So I'm very happy that we could actually share this with you. Sorry, coffee showcase, my latte art's from the brutalist period. I like that
love
one
that.
specifically. Thanks for that. We like the
Medium
chuckles.
obligation. Me and my girl are getting excited when I create something that resembles a tulip. And yes, the foam test. Yeah.
Yep.
The foam test is still used in barista competitions. So yeah, she's got the right idea.
Yeah, definitely. My foam test was always this test, but you know, the foam test like that, and there's a couple of them now.
I like that too.
Yeah, back in the day, I used to just plop my pinky when I was training people of like how
Just
thick
see how-
the foam was.
yep.
As soon as it's like a little hot, it's like, okay, yeah, you had about like an inch of foam. That sounds pretty good. So having this cup for training purposes especially, showing that traditional and then contemporary cappuccino differences kind of saves my fingers a little bit. You had a little bit of an experience actually creating a reel for this.
Right.
So I don't know if you actually want to retry that at all. We don't have any cool espresso, so I won't be pouring into your hand today.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
But if you haven't seen that reel, it's up on our Instagram, YouTube.
Yeah, I'll let
anywhere you find Whole Latte Love.
I'll let you behind the curtain a little bit. The first time we tried that, we took the espresso straight out of the machine, right in my hand, and it did not last more than half a second. So,
Yep.
Anyway, do you wanna do a heart throwdown? Should we do this?
Yeah, let's end things off with a little bit of a throwdown. In the comments, be our judge, our guest judge. Brian back there, our producer, will also point the finger at his favorite. So we'll go ahead and get all of this. These old latte arts out of the way. When it comes to picking your cup too, this is an important factor as well. You want something kind of curved. So what kind of cup do you want for this one?
Ooh,
Probably the
boy.
same one. This nice curvature is pretty good. for
I
a
do
heart.
actually like these cups. Yeah, these are Varia cups, by the way. We sell these on the website, wholelattelove.com. They're the Varia sip cups. I also like Kinto cups, not neutral cups, a lot of things that you can find on the website. Anything that has a little bit of a curvature on the bottom is really going to help with some latte art.
And then kind of a nice wide mouth.
Yeah.
So as you saw before on some of the latte art that we were doing, yes, it fills up really nicely within these like medium-sized mouths up at the top. But if you have a nice large mouth, it'll give you more room too for that latte art to expand, and then also room on the sides to add more hearts. I like hearts on everything, so.
And you know what? I'm probably going to I'm going to go outside of the box. I think we just need one rule. Whatever we choose to do, it has to have at least one heart in it. How's that sound for a rule?
Okay. At least one heart in it. Okay, I can do this.
Challenge
You're
accepted?
scared now.
Yeah,
You should
yeah,
be.
I shouldn't have said that actually.
Yeah,
but-
now I'm getting out the nice fine tip. Oh dear.
All right. So keep in mind, this live stream is going to be up and live, and you can watch it again. You've got all week until Valentine's Day to practice your hearts.
Practice your heart out, as they would say.
That's the only way.
Yeah.
So that way, on Friday, a week from today, when Valentine's Day rolls around, you'll have your heart technique down for that special someone in your life. Speaking of which, this coming Friday, we're going to be doing another live stream, and it's going to be all about Valentine's Day drinks. We're going to make some special drinks together. We're going to show you some cool recipes. So maybe you can use some of those recipes and top it off with a heart. So between today and next week, you're going to be all set to go.
John, I'm glad you're doing this outro because you're distracted. I think I'm going to be better now. I think this is my upper hand. I don't have to talk.
Well, I was trying to distract you.
Oh. Whoops, says I'm distracted.
You've been doing this long enough. Don't mess up, Zach.
I already did, actually. I was like turning around, talking at the same time.
While
doing
steaming?
it again.
Yeah. It takes me back to the barista days, just having conversations with folks while making drinks.
Yeah, it does kind of remind us of our coffee shop days,
Yeah.
commercial days.
Yeah,
Except I
this
wish
time,
we could be serving you all.
Yeah, except this time I'm just doing it to distract you.
Yeah, we figured. He needs the upper hand.
Ouch.
Ooh,
It's on now. I'm not gonna lie, Zach. I think you actually might have the upper hand on this one.
all I need to do is one heart, so...
I'm gonna take this one. All right, did a little bit of a milk sharing. I'm not looking. I'm trying not to look. Oh man, he's really going for it. Oh man. Oh man.
Seahorse!
Oh.
Really ugly seahorse, but you know, there's a heart in there somewhere.
Now, you know what? You know how earlier, check this out. We talked about how it's possible to kind of drag your heart like this. As you can see, I actually kind of did that with this heart that I topped off this Rosetta with. So I should have listened to your lesson, Zach.
You should have.
But anyway.
All right, so votes down below. Oh, wow, John is winning at 100% right now.
Out of how many votes? Like one?
I don't know. I think you are favored because I was spitting a lot of game.
I don't know. I'm only
what happened there.
67% now.
So, I don't know. I have a good white in his eyes. I feel like he's pretty cute. You know, I feel like you guys are saying it's not enough hearts, so I'm going to add some hearts.
Yeah, do it. Speaking of which, I got a little foam in here.
So instead of living under the sea with bubbles, he's living in Valentine's Day? I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's what's great about hearts. Add a heart on everything. Wow, it is still favored in for John. 75%.
Wow.
No one likes a seahorse. I see how it is.
Yowza.
I see how it is.
No pun intended.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeesh.
It's a good thing you all aren't around here all day because the puns are.
This is what it's like around here all day.
Yeah, the puns are horrible.
Dad jokes, puns. Steve, does Whole Latte Love sell those cups double walled? Yes, they only come double walled. I'm glad you asked. Good question.
Yeah, and they're great that way. I can be holding on to this thing all day. Doesn't matter. I actually use these at home for a lot of my pour-overs too.
I've seen you do little baby Americanos in those cups too.
Yep, my baby Canos.
Yeah, which are even hotter. You can hold them all day.
Yeah, entirely.
Nice.
All right.
I'm still at 75%. Wow.
All right. Well,
okay.
Look at that. John has won against me for the first time ever.
I don't know if that's fair. I think that
my memory's really short too. Horrible memory.
I don't think it's fair. I mean, this took way more drawing and actual artistic skill. I just had a little, symmetric one.
I was also really distracted talking behind my shoulder, which is why you see a lot of the bubbles come up, because after 140 degrees, I did have a couple chirps, which is why you have a better texture, I would say.
I
that's kind of naturally happening.
I had some nasty texture too, so I actually had to do a little milk sharing to try to pop some of those bubbles.
Yeah.
I took it from this pitcher, poured it in there. That's a little pro tip for
We
you.
really messed up under pressure here today.
Nice
But
one.
with that, looks like you won, John. Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, this will be posted afterwards. If you want to practice up to Valentine's Day, feel free to, buy a whole bunch of 50 gallons of milk, like what I did, basically, and have fun while you're at it.
Yeah,
it took us a long time to get to this point.
Yeah, don't forget to make it fun too. Tune in next Friday. We're going to show you all kinds of cool drink recipes for Valentine's Day. Don't forget to subscribe to the Whole Latte Love YouTube channel. Zach, thanks for hanging out.
John, it was great being beaten by you.
Hey, let's do that again.
Yep. All right.
All right. Brian, hey, thanks, Brian.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Yep. All right. See y'all next time.
Cheers, y'all.